Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. These metals far surpass gold and silver in terms of price and performance, and this metal here is catching up, or possibly will soon. Let's explore. Yes, we're going to take a look at the platinum group metals again because they have been on a tear. They have really been performing very well for a myriad of different reasons. We're going to explore that here. And first, we're going to start with the metal that is more precious than gold. Well, in terms of price and rarity, that is palladium. The price of the precious metal palladium has soared on the global commodities markets, and this comes to us from BBC News. It has jumped by more than 25% in the last 2 weeks alone, and almost doubled in value over the last year. At about $2,500 per ounce, an ounce of palladium is more expensive than gold, and the pressures forcing its price are unlikely to ease anytime soon. But what is palladium? What is it used for, and why is its price rising? Well, it is part of the platinum group metals, and it is a shiny white metal, and it is alongside with platinum, ruthenium, rhodium, osmium, and iridium. The majority of the world's palladium comes from Russia and South Africa. That is the case of platinum too, and rhodium. Most of it is extracted as a byproduct in the mining of other metals, usually platinum and nickel. The key commercial use is a critical component in catalytic converters, and that is a theme that we'll find for all the platinum group metals that are tracked in the precious metal markets. A part of the car's exhaust system that controls emissions. It's found mainly in petrol and hybrid vehicles. The vast majority of palladium, more than 80%, is used in these devices that turn toxic gases such as carbon monoxide and nitrogen dioxide into less harmful nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. It is also used to a far lesser extent in electronics, dentistry, and jewelry. And we've also seen it even less as in coins and bullion. The metal's soaring value in recent years has seen a jump in the theft of catalytic converters around the world. London's Metropolitan Police said the number of thefts in the first 6 months of 2019 were more than 70% higher than the whole of the previous year. So why is the price rising? In short, it is because demand for palladium outstrips supply, which is a very fundamental concept here, and it has done for some time. The amount of the metal produced in 2019 is forecast to be below global demand for the 8th year in a row. As a secondary product of platinum and nickel extraction, miners have less flexibility to increase palladium output in response to rising prices. And that shortfall looks to continue, with South Africa, which produces around 40% of the world's supply, last week saying its output of platinum group metals, including palladium, fell by 13.5% in November compared to a year earlier. Keep that in mind as we look about the potential for platinum later on in this video. Meanwhile, demand for palladium from car makers has increased sharply for a number of reasons. Among the world governments, notably China, are tightening regulations as they attempt to tackle air pollution from petrol vehicles. At the same time, the diesel emissions scandal in Europe that has had an impact. Consumers have been shifting away from diesel cars, which mostly use platinum in their catalytic converters, and are instead buying petrol-driven vehicles which use palladium. And by the way, there is a potential for a shift to be using platinum instead of palladium, even though palladium is a better and everything's tooled for palladium. We talked about that in a prior video. The U.S.-China trade deal, which was signed earlier this month, has also boosted prices. Traders expect the agreement to help ease downward pressure on global economic growth and slow the decline in Chinese car sales. So there's why palladium continues to rise. And it is fascinating indeed. And here we can see another market article from Market Watch. Why palladium prices keep hitting new highs, and rhodium has already rallied by over 40% this year. The year is young, but two commodities have already posted impressive gains, with palladium extending its run on record highs and rhodium climbing more than 40% in the first few weeks of 2020. It's a very much a fundamental story for both metals, says Nikos Kavalis, founding partner of precious metals consultancy Metals Focus. Demand from the automotive sector has been growing as a result of tightening emissions legislation, most notably in China. The majority of the world's palladium and rhodium supplies are used in autos for catalytic converters, which control exhaust emissions. So there you have it. There's some of the reason why we're seeing rhodium going up in price as well. Futures for palladium are consistently hit record highs in 2019, up over 2%, and in the year with a gain of almost 60%. They settled at a record $2,224.90. They're up much higher than that now. Rhodium has seen spot prices climb up by more than 40% from the end of last year to $87.50 an ounce on January 17th, and that's up higher than that. We'll look at those prices momentarily. Palladium market has been prolonged deficit for decades, says Johan Weib, lead metallist analyst at the GFMS team at Refinitiv, a global financial data provider. Demand for palladium has been booming and supply has just not been able to keep up with it, Weib says. Car sales are under pressure, he says, but that's offset by a rise in metal requirements in the back of tightening emission legislation across the major regions, including India, China, the U.S., and Europe this year. Palladium's high prices in particular have raised questions over substituting platinum for the metal. Platinum futures are up $1,024.80 on January 17th, traded more than $1,000 an ounce, less than palladium. So they could start being to think there may come to a point in time where the price will just get so high for palladium, which is rarer than platinum, and that they may use platinum for use as a catalyst. I will note that platinum is the densest of the platinum group metals that are being tracked in terms of precious metals out there, obviously save for iridium and osmium, which have a much greater density. And that density, I think, is a part of what makes it an attractive as a use as a catalytic converter. With every move in higher prices, the pressure and interest increase for automakers to find cheaper alternatives, such as platinum, says Weeb. Platinum is not interchangeable one-for-one with palladium, but it does carry similar characteristics. So palladium is the sweet spot for catalytic converters for gasoline vehicles. And since platinum is mainly used in diesel-powered vehicles and palladium is used in gasoline-powered vehicles, the problem with substitution lies with the time in terms of getting the certifications ready, which can take 1 or 2 years and can be costly. It is rather expensive to certify new formulations for vehicle models. They have to be compliant, otherwise you won't be able to sell the car. Gasoline has a lower temperature to burn than diesel, and the issue is making platinum just as effective as palladium in those conditions, Weeb says. Rhodium, meanwhile, doesn't really have a substitute, so will continue to be in high demand. Favalis of Metals Focus, meanwhile, says original equipment manufacturers will be wary to make such dramatic changes to their after-treatment systems and risk failing regulatory compliance for a savings which, while significant, is only a small part of their overall cost. So that is probably one of the better explanations, the last few paragraphs, and why the switch hasn't taken place yet. But it's getting closer with the price gap between platinum and palladium. If the gap between platinum and palladium continues to widen, Kavala says he wouldn't rule it out, but is unlikely to happen in the near term. Palladium is likely to continue to make new highs this year and probably beyond, even though short-term and short-lived corrections are also in the cards, says Kavalis. Rhodium may reach a new high this year, he says, with the metal's fundamentals so strong that he struggles to pick a top for the market. Rhodium peaked at more than $10,000 an ounce in 2008, and I believe we are on track for that again this year in 2020. We shall see. Now, that being said, let's take a look at rhodium. It's surged here. Demand for rhodium has surged recently, citing a possible U.S.-China trade deal. This is before it was signed. And so it's basically, this is kind of reconfirming the other thing about the demand, the driver for it in the auto catalyst market. Driver being a pun that was not intended, believe it or not. So he says the mining. This is from Coinspeaker.com. Precious metal-related commodities, Jason Weld said, in recent times, rhodium demand has outpaced other PGMs as tightening legislation has increasingly focused on reducing nitrogen oxide emissions, for which rhodium is the most effective of the three PGMs used in autocatalysts. So as rhodium gets closer, it's likely to be traded out, or because of this ability to reduce nitrogen oxide emissions. And by the way, you think about it, rhodium and these platinum group metals, they're God's metals, you know, and the best probably replacement for that on the manufacturing side or would be probably graphene. But graphene, being able to mass produce it to be able to do these kind of things as well as replace silver and gold is way down the road. And I believe that some of the other abilities, and as we move towards, you know, electric vehicles or what have you, more than likely the cost and fuel it would take to make the electricity is going to need these metals as well, is my guess. But we'll see how it all plays out. And it talks about rhodium. And in 2020, rhodium seems to be left behind its peers by a huge margin. Palladium, which is the second best gainer of 2020, has surged by 9%. Unlike other precious metals like gold and silver, investing in rhodium is difficult as it doesn't trade on exchanges. It is completely outside of that system. When you see these price increases and drops, it doesn't really go along with the regular market. So we've seen that with our Sunday night market watch videos when we look at that. In fact, we're going to take a look at rhodium and all the precious metal prices momentarily. But next, I want to talk about the shift to platinum. And this article comes to us from Forbes.com. And it was sent to me by Coins A to Z. Palladium surges again, but the focus will soon shift to platinum. So this is talking again about that switchover. The palladium boom, which had led to a surge in the theft of hybrid vehicles, cars continued to accelerate, with the precious metal up 25% over the past 2 weeks to more than $2,500 an ounce. Now it's even more than that, sparking a burst of interest in palladium's twin, platinum. At its current price, palladium is close to double where it was this time last year, driven up by demand from car makers who use it to remove noxious gases from vehicle exhaust, and increasingly from speculators too. Whatever the cause, platinum will play catch-up. There are early signs emerging of platinum playing catch-up with palladium as car makers are forced to switch, not just because of the palladium spot price, but because of a worldwide shortage. Now, that is almost jumping the gun, I think, based off the other article. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're getting closer. The twin metals, which are often found together in the same ore bodies, are sourced largely from South Africa and Russia, which means supplies can be erratic. Rhodium, a third metal, which shares a geological connection with palladium and platinum, but is in much shorter supply, has been a real star of the show, trading last week at more than $7,000. We talked about that too in a prior. The pace of the three metals has risen, has taken traders and consumers, especially those in the vehicle and jewelry trades, by surprise. A little more than a month ago, when the author reported palladium headed for $2,000, and while recommended, part ironically, that owners of Prius hybrid electric vehicles should lock them up because of the thick coating of palladium on the exhaust, which had made them a prime target of car thieves. It is crazy to see all these metals take their moves, and a lot of this is kind of, repeating what we had in the other article. But let's take a look here at where things stand as of the recording of this video. Gold and silver are up modestly, very modestly, but you can see palladium and rhodium are on fire. For a price level, up almost $120 for palladium. It is well over $2,600 now for the ask price, but look at that spread between the ask price and the bid price. In other words, the ask price is going up because of its demand, But if you want to sell it back, you're going to take a big hit on it. A $200 hit for Palladium. Pretty crazy, I would say, but that is the way of the world for sure. And with Rhodium, it's even worse, with over $9,000 for the ask price for Rhodium. If you're going to sell it back, you are going to be taking almost, well, at one point I remember seeing it was $1,000 hit, but this time it's about $700. And so with the $700 increase, if you were to sell it back for the bid price, you're going to be hit $700 off that ask price. So that's where the metals are. I do think we will see Rhodium hit $10,000 again. And my guess that these platinum group metals will continue as China, and especially with that trade deal where things go, that we'll see them go up. And I think that platinum, I am bullish on platinum. And I'm holding in my hand right now a platinum maple leaf, and I'm glad I own it. And I'm going to try to get some more platinum this year because I do think it is undervalued now. Historically, and I won't say lately because it's been a while, but platinum used to trade higher than gold. And obviously Palladium has replaced platinum in that regard, for sure. If the scandal didn't happen over in Germany with a Volkswagen, well, we would have seen platinum right up there, I believe, with it, or close. But nonetheless, that is where things are with these metals that are on a tear. Platinum, which I think will soon catch up, but Palladium and Rhodium definitely are on massive moves upwards. So there you have it. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch this video. And remember, I post videos on a daily basis and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.